Hi everyone, lovely to see you. So today's live chat, we're going to be talking about how to build healthy relationships. So Rajni is just going to be joining the live chat. Thank you so much. I hope all of you are doing well. And thank you so much for joining in. Hi Rajni. Now, how do I? Hi Rajni, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you very clear. So let's begin in a couple of minutes. I think we'll have to wait for some more people to join
Yes.
and then we can begin.
Meanwhile, if you want, you can talk about Heart and Soul
So I think
and
all of
tell
you
us.
are aware that Heart and Soul is a matchmaking service that focuses on empowerment. So I work very closely with psychotherapists. I work very closely with life coaches because
Hmm.
I believe it's very important to work with yourself. So unless you love and respect yourself, it's difficult to love and respect others. And
That's right.
it's also difficult to get others to love and respect you as well. So that connection with self is most important. What do you think, Rajni?
Sorry?
I said that connection with self is most important.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's begin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Evolve with Heart and Soul. We are going to be chatting to a very special guest, Rajni Agarwal. So, Rajni has been working actively as a psychoanalyst and a psychotherapist for the past 20 years. She has studied psychoanalysis, Vedanta, and Tibetan Buddhism, and she believes that compassion is the key to solve all of life problems, especially relationships. She has also she recently launched her vegan brand, Nuts About You. So, our topic for today's discussion is very interesting because we're going to be talking about how to build healthy relationships. So all romantic relationships go through their ups and downs, and they all take work and commitment and willingness to adapt and change with your partner. But whether your relationship is just starting out or you've been together for years, there are steps you can take to build a healthy relationship. So even if you've experienced a lot of failed relationships in the past and have struggled before to rekindle the fires of romance in your current relationship, you can find ways to stay connected, find fulfillment, and enjoy lasting happiness. And you will also get a chance to ask questions about how you can build healthy relationships to our expert psychotherapist. So, Rajni, thank you for joining us live today and taking this time to empower all of us. So, what according to you makes a healthy relationship?
Okay. Um, I want to tell everybody is that the first relationship that we have before we get into a love relationship is the relationship that we have with ourselves. It starts very early on. That's the primary relationship. And that's followed by the other relationships that we form, which are with our parents, the primary caretakers, and then friends. And then somewhere along the line, we discover love and we form loving relationships. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because as a mental health professional, and when we are counseling people, we come across people that all experiences in life and all relationships, they create mental impressions and you form attachment patterns. So, whether it's a previous loving relationship or the earlier attachment patterns that you have formed, we carry these in our not necessary. I mean, we often carry it. It's not like everybody does so, but it often happens. And sometimes it may not be very helpful, it can be detrimental. So, when we are talking about healthy relationships, the word we use is functional. What is it that is working for both the people? And in a simple way, one can understand is that a dysfunctional relationship would be characterized more with power and control. There is like an unequal distribution of power and control, whereas a healthy relationship or a functional relationship is more based on respect, mutuality, and trust. It's based on the needs of both the people involved.
Okay. So how do you build a strong relationship?
There are different factors. Before we work on a relationship, we need to work on ourselves.
Okay.
The more we have done personal homework, the more we enter a relationship with greater awareness. And when we're talking about awareness, we're also talking about clarity. We have awareness about ourselves, like what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. When we meet the other person, we kind of also try to gauge their strengths and weaknesses, because somewhere down the line there has to be a compatibility to form a relationship.
Okay.
And so that is the way you start with it. And yeah, that's about it.
So boundaries play a very important role. So how do you establish boundaries in a relationship? And do you think it's okay to have like full transparency in a relationship? So these are two separate questions. So I guess you can answer
Yeah.
at a time.
So again, see, in a relationship, as you had mentioned, every relationship will go through ups and downs. And when you are going through a down or a conflict, and that's not the time that you set boundaries or bring about any changes, because that's like a problem solving mode and you can't be doing anything at that time. So when your relationship is on a good plane, when you are smooth sailing, that's the time that you really need to sit and work out, what are going to be the ground rules.
Okay.
About everything, all aspects. You need to put everything under the scanner, like including boundaries. What do both the people need to sit and they need to chalk it out for themselves. If they think that they need an external intervention, they can also do what is like a therapist intervention, and they can get an expert help in doing these things. But that's the time, it's like the ground rules, which also includes boundaries. And there are no standardized boundaries. It's whatever is comfortable to each of them in different areas. And you asked about transparency. So transparency is, you're talking about about usage of phone
and your partner wants to know the password of your phone, and he thinks that it's very important, and sometimes the other person feels that if you don't give them the password, that means you're not committed in the relationship. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think I'm saying is the very fact that one wants to pry into the other's phone and the other wants to be secretive about it, it should be a red flag, because it definitely is a pointer towards trust issues in both the people involved. Because when you have what we are talking about, a healthy relationship, then there is an element of trust in it. There is an element of honesty in it. And when you have that a healthy, secure relationship, neither does one person unnecessarily want to get into another person's phone and everything, and neither does the other person want to hide these things. What is it that you're hiding so much with your life.
Okay.
And the other person also, I'm saying, if you have a healthy relationship in not in the real world, not just through social media and not through other things.
Yeah.
If you have a healthy real life relationship, then the need to kind of there are different reasons. Or always, it's not that the other person is up to something. Sometimes the information that your phone may contain may be very confidential, work related.
Yeah.
Different types of work.
And
Like
sometimes you
my
just want
work
to
as a
maintain your privacy, right? You don't, if you don't want the other
absolutely.
person to read messages that you've sent to your friends or, conversations you've had with
Absolutely,
people.
I think so. So, it's not like a blanket rule that you have to share your passwords or everybody. Just because you have opened the doors to your heart and your life to somebody doesn't
Yeah.
mean that all your doors and just the person can get into all spaces. The person
Yes.
can get into the spaces that you allow them into, and they should respect that boundaries that you have.
Okay.
That's what a healthy relationship is or should be.
Should be.
And if it's being, I'm saying is, uh, even if you're feeling insecure, you can talk about it.
Yes.
You have to set these ground rules, that if we are going to, this will happen, then how should we resolve it? We should talk about it. These
Yes.
are the ground rules that you should be setting when you like each other, when things are going well.
Yes.
Then you should foresee the future and talk about it before it happens.
Okay. And sometimes, how important is it to say no in a relationship? Like, some people have it's difficult for them to say no. So how do you work around this and how important is it?
Saying no is like a universal problem, not necessarily in a love relationship.
Okay.
And it's a lot to do with one's personality because we are all conditioned, and whether we like to believe it or not, we are all people pleasers in some degree or the other.
Yeah.
And we want to be liked by others. We want to accommodate others. So part of being compassionate, nice, is we want to accommodate others. So
Yeah.
it's not easy for a person to say no. But actually speaking, it's a sign of a healthy relationship is also the ability to say no,
Yes.
because you need some degree of strength and you need assertiveness to be able to say no. And the other person should it's also the other person learns to respect your boundaries
Okay.
when you learn to say no. And I just want to point quickly towards the personality and its relationship to saying no.
Yeah.
So generally, the reason people also find it difficult to say no is because you know your personality is either on two extremes. Either it's aggressive,
Okay.
where you think that you are okay and the other person is not okay,
Yes.
and so you want to keep getting into the other person's space and boundary,
Yes.
break the boundaries. And the other side is that a person who's submissive is a person who wants to always is lacks in confidence or low in self-esteem, and this is a person who will not be able to protect their boundaries and
Okay.
will not be able to say no.
Yeah.
So aggressive and submissive people, most people will be either very aggressive or they'll be very submissive. And a healthy state of being is an assertive person,
Okay.
where you have a sense of self in which you think that you are okay and you also think the other person is okay.
Yeah.
So you think you respect your needs, you respect yourself, and you can say no to the other person without feeling that, oh, I mean, the person will be misunderstanding me or
Yeah.
will stop liking me and whatever the repercussions.
Okay. So what are the 4 important things in a relationship?
Okay, there's so many important things, and all the things that we're discussing are all important in relationships.
Yeah.
So at the same time, when we are talking about relationships, one of the important words that we must use is mutuality,
Okay.
because a relationship often, one of the person may be a little more dominating or dominant
Yes.
in a relationship than the other person,
Okay.
which is okay. There's nothing wrong with it,
Yeah.
as long as the needs of both the people are met.
Yes.
I mean, whatever is the personal equation that they set between themselves, it
Yes.
shouldn't be that one person is overshadowing the other and, is dominating to the effect that the other person doesn't get a chance to express their needs and desires or idea of a relationship is to blossom as a person with your
Yes.
togetherness. So if the other person is not getting that space to, really express their personality and blossom, then yeah, that's not uh, right. So mutuality is one of the important things.
Okay.
Then I think because a lot of time now everybody is spending on social media and online. Uh, so when we're talking about real life relationships,
Okay.
then quality time, which is in real life, which is face to face time, not FaceTime,
Yes.
is very important. And you need to make time for your relationship. So you need to kind of plan and see what are the activities that you can do together. It
Yes.
can be common areas of interest, like joining a dance class or doing some cooking together or gardening, working out.
Yes.
And I think a very important area, especially with the COVID happening, is one should examine is also volunteering for different projects or social service,
Okay.
because the whole idea is that when you are doing something for a higher purpose and a helpful activity, and both of you feel equally about it,
Yes.
then you're bonding. Although you're not directly working on your relationship, you're working for another larger cause, but it will definitely help to strengthen your relationship because you're working for something higher.
Okay.
It's so you're going away from your ego all the time. The focus is otherwise in a relationship is my, yeah, I, me, and myself,
Yes.
and what are my needs? Are they being met or not? So
Yes.
when you're putting away the focus on, okay, there are other people, they're suffering. I mean, how let me make myself useful, and if you're doing it together, the indirect effect of it definitely you'll reap, because your relationship will strengthen. You'll respect each other more. You'll learn to cherish your partnership, your
Ye-
boundaries. Everything will start falling into place. So that is very, very important, the volunteering and doing things for a higher cause, and that's part of spending quality time together.
Yes.
Then also physical intimacy, of course, is very important, very
Okay.
necessary. And in that, touching not necessarily is always sexual.
Okay.
Touch, basic human touch, is extremely therapeutic. And when you do, just even like if you're sitting together and you're just holding hands or you're hugging or kissing, that also releases oxytocin,
Okay.
which is a hormone which further strengthens the relationship. It creates more bonding and
Okay.
affection for each other. So, why do we like pets and all so much? Because we don't feel conscious, and they're just unconditional love, which is going
Yes.
between us to them and from them to us.
Yes.
So I think when we translate the same thing to human beings in the relationship, we become too little conscious, and the relationship becomes a little transactional, and that's where all the unhealthy part starts. So
Yes.
I think if we can keep it simple,
Yes.
just be loving, and the needs of everybody is very much the same. It's just that the ego and overthinking and all these other common things which come up. And another important thing is communication. There's just
Okay.
like we can do a whole session and workshop on communication.
So actually, what role does communication play, in keeping and maintaining?
Oh, you're talking about that. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you are in a relationship, very often what happens is we think, after some time, we think that we know each other.
Yeah.
So, we think that the person should understand, and a lot of expectations start building up.
Yeah.
But I think mostly, if we go to see, all relationship problems, they often stem from communication issues, like,
Oh,
which we have not, I mean, we many times we are second guessing,
yes.
you know. So if we have decided that it is a relationship that we want to have in our life, I
Yes.
think it's a good idea to give the other person the benefit of the doubt, because the mind's tendency is always to jump to the negative. The
Yes.
person has not called or not texted, or whatever has happened, the first thing the mind will think is negative. You will
Yes.
not think positive. Okay, oh, maybe the person is held up with something, maybe this has happened, maybe that has happened.
Yes.
So giving the benefit of the doubt is a very important thing. Not second guessing, but expressing ourselves and saying what we need in all areas of life. You know, there are many important things. I think I didn't talk about it in the beginning when you were talking about how do you build a strong relationship, but
Yeah.
when we are setting the ground rules and all that, there are many things that you need to discuss, including, how you're going to share responsibilities, how are you going to, what is going to be the economic partnership between you two,
Yes.
how is, so these are the things also which you need to talk and discuss, and communication. Definitely. I mean, things are not always, you're not talking about, okay, what kind of coffee you like and what kind of dress do you like and what are your hobbies and interests. But
Yes.
if you really want a very healthy and strong relationship, you do talk about these ground realities about, I mean, what's going to be the money equation between us? How are you going to share responsibilities? How are you going to make time to each other? How are you going to resolve conflicts? So all that requires a lot of homework done on yourself, on your communication skills, because you have to be learning to express yourself, learning to say no. All that will be all communication. But again, I'm saying, after saying all this, I really need to tell you psychologically, verbal communication is only 30%.
Okay.
70% of the communication that happens between every person is non-verbal. So,
Non-verbal.
like the chances of uh, things going wrong are very high. 70% is non-verbal, and we are not trained. As a
Yeah.
psychologist, the early part of our training is understanding non-verbal communication.
Okay.
But most lay people, if you ask them, they're not aware of all these facts.
Yes.
And also, when we are talking about verbal communication, we generally tend to think that it's about the way you talk and the way you express and present yourself. But actually, a large part of communication is about listening.
Okay.
I mean, actually, one would be surprised, but we think we can listen, but most people only hear. They don't listen, which is a large contributor to relationship problems. We are not
Problems. Okay.
listening to the other person. We're not understanding what they're trying to say. We're not giving them the space to talk. As I said, one person can be
Yeah.
more dominating, so they'll just like eat up the space and hog the whole limelight. The other person doesn't get a chance to express themselves. So yeah, communication is like one of the very important pillars of a healthy and strong relationship.
And is it okay to ask for space in a relationship?
Sorry, what's the
Is
question?
it okay to ask for space if you need space in a relationship? Is that
Oh, do
healthy?
you need space? Okay, it's most healthy because I think yeah, I'm saying is one of my favorite authors is Khalil Gibran, who's
Yeah.
written The Prophets, and he's written on different aspects of life about marriage and children and sorrow and joy and everything. So he
Okay.
himself says that there should be space in your togetherness. I
Okay.
mean, we are, we need that change. We can't be with some same experience or the same person 24/7. So if we are in a
Definitely.
relationship, then you need to be able to maintain your own space, and that doesn't need necessarily that it's just a mental space, not necessarily even a physical space, or it can be a physical space also. You need to be able to maintain your own identity
Okay.
outside the relationship. Everything, sometimes what happens also, relationship problems occur because too much of pressure comes on the relationship because you expect that you want to do everything with that person.
Yes.
Initially, when you're dating in first part of your relationship, the first leg, you want to spend the maximum time, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
gradually, as you move into phase 2 and phase 3 of your
Yeah.
relationship, it should ease up where your identity should emerge. You should get back to your work, your hobbies, your interests, your relations outside this personal relationship in terms of your family and friends and all that. So space is important. You need to be in your own space.
And what role does
I can't hear you.
play in a relationship? What role does trust play
Yeah,
in
I
a
got you. I
relationship?
heard you. Okay. I think the very basis and the foundation of a relationship is trust. Unless you
Okay.
trust somebody, you will never form a relationship with that person.
Okay.
So I think I would say something like you should trust. And I mean, for me, that's the way I function. I choose to always trust a person unless the person proves or is constantly giving you hints that he is untrustworthy. Like, there are constantly things which are happening around that person or in their behavior which you think are red flags and you cannot be trusted. So unless I think your basic premise should be of trusting. At the same time, you can't be foolish because there are too many distractions today,
Okay.
and uh, people may mean to be
Okay.
good, but they're not. They're always
Yes.
different things going on. So I think one should use a judicious mix of your head and your heart, and trust, but be open to any red flags that you come across.
Okay. That's lovely. Thanks so much. If any of you have any questions you would like to ask Rajni, now would be a good time to do so. We will try and cover one question at a time, and we will try and cover as many questions as we can in the session. In case we are not able to cover any of your questions, feel free to message Rajni on her Instagram page, Rajni Agarwal. Sign up with her for a series. If any of you have any questions you all would like to ask Rajni, please feel free to do so.
If there are no questions coming, we can continue our conversation.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know?
just wait a second in case there are no
Yeah, we'll
questions.
wait. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can continue till if anybody has any questions, then we can take that up. Later. Yeah, so we covered communication, we covered trust, we've spoken about establishing boundaries, learning to say no, and uh, what else do you think you could share with us on how we can build healthy relationships, uh, and how do you distribute power between between two people? One is the dominant one is the submissive one, but how does the submissive one ensure that they're not totally dominated and their personality is not totally killed by the dominant personality in the relationship? Sorry, you could hear me?
Are you saying how should one work on it? I heard you
Yeah. So
partly. You're talking about how to
the
make the.
submissive, how can they don't get totally dominated? Their personality is not lost. The relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes people tend to lose their identity. They totally lose themselves in the relationship. So how do they ensure does not happen?
Some people, I'm saying, because it's a matter of conditioning of so many years. Because
Okay.
as I said, you're having so many different caretakers and relationships, which are patterns are being formed right from your childhood. You know,
Okay.
before you enter a love relationship. So your personality is being shaped through all those experiences that you've had. And it's
Okay.
not like, it's the submissive person, despite being aware at some level that, they're being dominated or they're playing the doormat, will not be able to change themselves completely. It needs a lot of working on the person and their willingness
Okay.
to want to change that equation, because any
Okay.
power and control kind of issues, both the parties have to be willing, to change. And an aggressive person, because aggression, if you go to see socially, in the society, an aggressive person we see everywhere. We also
Yes.
see submissive people everywhere. And like I'm saying, that nobody really thinks that okay, this person really needs to kind of tone down. There
Yes.
you see anger outbursts, and you see people really pushing themselves and all that. It's
Yes.
not considered, and a person who's aggressive will think that's my personality. He will not think that I have a problem that I needs to be changed. And a submissive person is so used to being in the background that they don't think that they want to come in there, because it requires a lot of for working on them to change themselves. So very often these are the kind of people who may form a relationship and they may be happy with each other It's not like
Okay.
a power distribution doesn't need to be a 50-50. It's whatever makes them both comfortable and complement each other's needs. But if an aggressive person is forming a relationship with an aggressive person, then there may be
Yes.
a clash. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because both are like, all the time at loggerheads and warring
Yes.
with each other because
And what role does your childhood patterns play in a relationship? So if somebody has been through like a difficult or through a childhood where they've been dominated, or how will that play out in a relationship? And
I heard part of
uh,
you that what role does childhood play, and what was the second part of the question?
uh,
I can't hear you.
the second part of the question is like, if you've been through a difficult childhood, how will that play out in your relationships? So if you've been bullied, does that create a pattern? How would you work through that pattern? What kind of patterns will it create, and how do you work through
If
those
you've been what?
patterns?
If you've
And
been what?
if you are someone who's been bullied a lot as a child,
Yeah.
you've been through a difficult
Okay.
childhood. Uh, Now there
Yeah.
is a certain pattern that has formed in your life where you've been bullied as a child and then grow into adult. That pattern keeps repeating in different ways. Now, how does one
Yes.
recognize that pattern, and how do you work through it?
I think when people are dating or forming relationships or even getting married for that matter, what
Yeah.
if I think if they don't give it sufficient time and effort, and they always walk into a relationship with an exit door open,
Okay.
then that is also a big sign. If they have commitment issues also, it's a big sign because somewhere the person is carrying some emotional baggage, and a relationship also, uh, the needs to be a safe place. you know it needs
Okay.
to be a supportive and a safe place for you to be able to uh, put yourself out there, because you are really opening up, you're letting your hair down, and to the extent where, although it is easy to say be honest, and one should trust, but what happens is when you are opening up your guard and you are being vulnerable in a relationship, very often what happens is at that point of time it will help you to connect with the person, but whenever there's a conflict, you are going to be abused at
Okay.
the same weakness that you have expressed. Like very often I've seen that you've let your guard down, you've expressed certain parts of yourself. Maybe it's a dependence, maybe it's a vulnerability you have, or something which is a weakness for you. But your partner, you are opening yourself. When you are opening yourself to the other person, you are opening yourself to being exploited at some point when there is a conflict of interest, or the relationship is going through a tough time.
Yeah. But
That's why you
what
see in
I
relationships,
was
whenever there
talking
is
about
there
is
is a conflict,
yes.
then it's not only about that particular issue. There's so much of the past history which always is being brought to that table.
Okay. But
You know,
what I'm
it's
trying to get at is like, suppose now if you were bullied as a child and
yes.
see that pattern repeating. Okay, so
So,
uh,
Reema, our personality and mental health is a very complex kind of a thing. It's
okay,
not necessary that a child who's bullied, it's not like a cause and effect. This person was bullied, so this person will do this. If this person was sexually abused, so they'll do this. It's not like that. Most people, because I've worked as a school psychologist for several years,
okay,
and lots of students were counseled, when I was with them. So I'm saying, there are children who come with great problems, including bullying, but their personality is very
yeah,
resilient. They do not let it affect the core of them, and they do form very healthy relationships in the school. I'm saying I can't, we are not doing long term studies, so one can't predict. But what you see in the school setup, that they have very healthy peer relations and things
yeah,
like that. On the other hand, because ultimately it is about the outside, what's happening, but ultimately it's also about what you're doing in your own mind. Nobody's life is perfect. If you're a child, if you're an adult, we all have, like challenges to face. But ultimately, how is your mind? How is your mind processing that challenge? That is what is going to determine your personality, the quality of your life, the quality of your relationships.
No, that I understand.
Sorry.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you do. Can you hear me
Yes.
better?
I can hear you, but I think
Uh, is it better now?
no, I didn't hear the question. Sometimes I can hear. After that, I didn't hear.
Yeah. I didn't complete the questions, but sometimes you do see patterns repeating. So these are steps in childhood, and how does one recognize that in my life, and how does one work on that? So if you're
If
even
so, the
you're
way to
a child.
identify is what you can do is that if you think you can the starting point of your self analysis can be the conflict of your in your relationship, but that should
Okay.
lead you to it's like taking steps backward, and you can, depending on how aware you are as a person, and how
Okay.
much you have worked over the years on yourself. You can do it on your own or with the help of a therapist. You need to keep backtracking, taking back steps, and analyzing your different events, life events we call them, that have occurred in your life, and
Okay.
how they have impacted you. So, in fact, in psychology, there is a whole scale of stressors in which
Okay.
different life events have been given a rating of what is the amount of stress that they create for you. I mean,
Okay.
death of a loved one is number one. Then
Yes.
divorce is also ranked. Many people now they are talking. I mean, divorce is becoming very rampant now, and
Yes.
although people may show or think that they've got out of it, and but on the life stress scale after death, divorce is the number two stressor. It's a very highly stressful thing that a person goes through. It's like,
Okay.
so I feel I'm saying not to sound negative or demotivate anybody, but I'm just saying that we need to take our mental health very importantly. And when we form relationships, we need to really work on ourselves and the relationship constantly, and keep reevaluating whether we are moving together in synchronization in the direction in which we really want to go in terms of growth and mutuality. Otherwise, even if we are well meaning, because of our unconscious issues and conflicts, it can drag back the relationship. I can't hear you. Sorry.
And like you said, divorce is one of the stressors. So if one goes through a divorce, how do they face
Yeah.
it? So how divorce is the relationship? Sometimes you can take years to
How does
get
one?
over the divorce. Post a divorce.
How does one? What? Post a
How do you
divorce?
work
Help
on
oneself.
yourself? Yeah. How do you work on yourself? Like work on yourself post the divorce,
You have to.
so that
You have to understand that. Yeah. So then what happens is, in the external world, we are all functioning. The reason that a large part of psychological problems exist is because everybody functions in what we call in psychological terms as the facade of normalcy, where
okay.
everybody wants to appear like, like, oh, I'm fine, like I'm fine. Oh, okay, this happened, I'm fine. This happened, I'm fine. Okay, COVID, I've dealt with this, I've dealt with that. I mean, it's nice that you want to, you have a healthy self esteem and you want to show yourself in a certain way. That's very acceptable. But
Yes.
within your private self, within, when you're doing, sitting down with yourself, not in front of the public, you need to understand that, okay, I've gone through a divorce, it's been very difficult, I've invested X amount of years in the relationship, I've given so much of my life energy and everything, my resources. So it's not like it's going to take some time, and I'm going to give myself the time. I'm going to talk to a therapist if need be. I'm going to talk to my friends. If I need to go in a shell, then I'm going to be doing that. Whatever are
Okay.
your coping mechanisms. We all have different personalities and coping mechanisms. Some people want to be really out, reaching out, talking to people about it. Some people, they will withdraw in a shell and they really want to heal internally. So you need
Yes.
to give yourself time and not just brush it under the carpet that, okay, it's okay, it's over. It's never over so quickly. It takes its time. So give yourself time and heal and, take help.
And even heartbreak is, I would
Sorry,
say,
I'm sorry, but I can't.
it's when you go through it, it's very difficult. I said even heartbreak is very difficult over. How do you work through heartbreak? When you've
It
been through a
is.
heartbreak and your heart has been broken,
Yes.
now how do you
Yeah.
get yourself to
It
trust
is.
again?
Yes. Absolutely. I'm saying it's with great difficulty. I'm saying in a very kind of a superficial, shallow, or transactional world where everything is like, so we think 10 times before even buying a small thing from a thing. So if we have chosen to invest our feelings and our time in resources with a person, and if that, for whatever XYZ reasons, primary reason always is very often cheating, lying and cheating are very common reasons. So it takes a big toll on your mental health and your ability to trust. Again, there are no like quick fixes. You need to give yourself time. You need to understand that this has happened to me and it's not easy. I've been watching a lot of these young YouTubers and all that, who are doing a lot of podcasts and they're talking about all aspects of life. So everybody is
Yes.
now opening up and sharing that, yes, this happened to me and it was very difficult. People cannot forget relationships. It's like one part of you know your that file may be minimized but it's still there. It's like
Yes.
it will take its own course of time.
Uh, do any of you have any questions that you would like to ask Rajni in the comment box?
You're asking me if I have questions, Rima? So what is the time till which the video goes on? I can't hear you. Sorry. Any
No, no,
questions?
no, no, no. No, I'm asking the audience.
Yeah, I got that.
So I just asked the audience if they have any questions they would like
Yeah.
to ask you.
So I think okay.
Joining us
I think
live
we can
today
just put a
since I think a
disclaimer.
lot of people can't
Rima,
connect with us. And I'm sure all of you
today's session, I think we were
uh,
primarily discussing committed monogamous relationships, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm saying is there is a whole spectrum of other permutations and combinations of relationships now which are coming up.
Of course. So we spoke about how to
I,
build healthy
yeah,
relationships. So
yeah.
thank you for your valuable inputs, and thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. I hope all you enjoyed. Okay, one has asked a question: can someone really trust after it's broken once?
Yes, that is what being human or being alive is all about. It's like uh, all through our life, we are going to be challenged in different ways, and trust is one of the ways. We cannot stop trusting. Of course, it's going to be taking a little longer to trust. We're going to be definitely more careful, more wary. But I think with time, we all, basic human tendency, if you're a healthy person and a strong person, is to trust, you know. That's my basic premise, that you trust till you know, you can't trust. So yeah, I mean, I think no matter, we have suffered through heartaches and heartbreaks, and life has been unfair, and people have been unfair, but ultimately it's about our own journey, you know. As Rima had said, you know, it's about yourself and heart and soul. So it's your journey from your heart to your soul, and we are all, often a relationship is a means to use another person to travel the journey together. But the more we can be self-sufficient and the more we can be whole, if we can find a partner and a relationship from a position of wholeness and self-sufficiency and not from a position of lack, I think we can reduce and minimize some of the problems, and we can continue with this journey. Rima, I can't hear you. What are you saying?
We'll just wait for 2 minutes. Maybe somebody else
Yeah, I think we can. We have
questions.
a few
Then
people.
maybe somebody else. Yes. I think we're waiting for
I
Ali
think
to
whoever
ask
needs to
his
ask the
question. Ali,
question.
please ask.
So you, Rima, you can announce your, I think, event coming up. How does one handle character judging at an early stage of a relationship? I think when trust is anyway becoming very difficult. So when you are in the early stage of your relationship, hello, am I being
We can
heard?
hear you, Rajni. We can hear you.
You can hear you.
Can you
Okay.
hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have a ready-made answer for this. It's making me think a bit. But I think being judged all the time when you are in a relationship is very common, because you know that's what a relation, that's the drawback of being in a relationship. It comes with some good things and some bad things. You're constantly judging each other, and many things look very nice on paper to say you should be like this and you should be like that, but when we are human beings and we are in a relationship, it's like a reality show, you know. It's not the big boss, but we are often not the best versions of ourselves. So if you are being judged, then you have to address it with the person, you know, at the earliest, and you have to express it in a way that the person doesn't feel threatened. There are ways in which you can learn uh, in counseling sessions how you can be more assertive, which is what we talked about earlier. Who's written this? Do you like Save Puri? Okay. So you have to learn to be assertive. You need to address the issue. And yes, it's important. You have to use I statements saying that what is happening? I don't understand, Reema. I can hear some laughter.
No, no. Yeah, I was laughing because Vivek asked like Sevpuri and whether you're single.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm
Yeah,
missing the
that's
joke.
true.
So, oh, okay. I missed the joke.
But that was a joke.
So the one,
Uh,
I mean, I think because we have some time and we are not ending, I just want to make a point is that, we enter relationship with, although we say minimize your expectations, we do enter with needs, we do enter with lack, we do enter with expectations. So there is going to be disappointment, there is going to be hurt. And now I forgot, I was going to say something which I thought was important.
and what about criticism? How do we handle criticism when someone criticizes you in a relationship? Because you often go into that defensive mode, right? The minute somebody criticizes you. So what's the best way to handle criticism or
So first thing is that when one is criticized, nobody likes it. So the immediate response is that fight or flight. You
yes,
are going to be defensive, Either you're going to fight back
yes,
or you're going to withdraw. Second thing is now when that information has been shared with you, it's not going to be shut down so immediately. We are classic, we are human beings. So, we are even storing information from childhood. So what has happened in the year
yes.
now is going to be active and alive. So we need to process that information very objectively. We have to keep, there is a lot of hurt and whatever anger and all those other feelings, but we have to
Yes.
learn to keep that aside and objectively assess all that the person has told us. If we find an iota of truth, or there are certain aspects of what has been told are truthful, and there are other things mixed with it, then we have to separate those. And the whole idea of doing personal work is to a large extent you can learn, when you're criticized also. Of course, you have to learn to handle your feelings that come with it, but you do learn to take criticism uh, with a pinch of salt and for your personal growth. You don't always react to it, or you don't like shy away from it. In fact, I think the whole aspect of growth is that you should actively seek feedback. In a relationship also, I'm saying when you're having your ground rules and talking
Yes.
about things, you should
Yes.
always ask for feedback. What do you like about me? What do you not like about me? And
Yes.
when you see what are the trigger points for each other, then you have to ensure that you don't press those triggers. But of
And
course, when
also
you're
when you're
fighting, then you're going to press
criticizing,
those triggers.
yeah, but if you're not
When you're
happy
fighting,
about,
it's full throttle. You are going to press those triggers. But like when things are going good, you're going to be more mindful and caring and not ensure that you're not letting the person those triggers are not happening.
but suppose if you're not happy with
So
something,
Rishi,
you're not happy in the relationship, how do you express it in the best way not to hurt the other person's feelings? How do you
if
communicate that?
something has happened,
No, if you're not happy with the other person's behavior, or if you don't like something that they've said or done, how
yeah.
do you communicate that in the most effective way without really hurting the other person's feelings?
So the best way to communicate is always you don't threaten the other person. What happens is the reason we are defensive is because we are being feeling threatened. So the ego's natural tendency is that you want to protect yourself. Your self esteem. It goes into that thing shell. You want to protect yourself. So when you are hurt, you know how it feels. So now when you're giving back that to the other person, you have to be mindful of that. That if I say it in a certain way, which is what you're asking, it's going
Yes.
to have a reaction. You want a response, you want the person to absorb what you're saying, you don't want them to react. So you say that I feel, you have to say it with I. You don't have to say you did this. When you say you means you're pointing a finger. And you point a finger, the person becomes defensive. So you have to point a finger and say, I
Yeah.
feel whatever XYZ when you do
Yes.
this. It's a blanket statement, which we teach all
Okay.
the time. I feel XYZ when you do XYZ,
Okay. Okay.
or when you did XYZ, whatever, I feel this when you did this. So that is like you're putting the focus on yourself and your feelings, that your feelings are hurt or you are feeling certain way. You're not saying, oh, you did this, so I'm feeling. So you're not putting the blame on the other person.
Okay.
I'm feeling hurt because you did not, call me when you
Yes.
said you would. So it's like, you're putting yourself in a non-threatening way, and the person
Yes.
is likely to listen and understand what you're saying. It's a relationship management is a lot of work, but it's not as difficult. I think if your ego you can keep in check, a lot of your work can be done. It's basically human ego, which is, all the time playing up in disguised ways and creating barriers.
For sharing your valuable inputs with us. Enjoyed today's session and idea on how to build a healthy relationship. Now we have some fun activities lined up for you, so don't go away. Stay tuned on our Instagram and Facebook page for more updates. In the meantime, stay indoors, stay safe. Soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rajni.
Thank you,
That was a
Rima.
beautiful
Thank
session.
you. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
joining in. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's session. Next week, we're going to be talking about dating in the modern world. So that is going to be another interesting live session. So please do try and join. And the weekend after that, I'm going to be talking about how to erase fear from your subconscious mind. So, these are interesting sessions which I will be doing with different life coaches. So please try and tune in. All the updates will be there on my Instagram page, so you will get an idea what's happening each week. But thank you today for joining today's session. Thank you, everyone.